Hi, I'm Rochelle Ireland, and this is my channel, Sneaky Bunny Sewing. Last week, I found some clothes at a thrift store, and I showed you how I altered 3 of those garments. Today's garment is one of the dresses that I found, but it was the most complicated to alter. It was too big, and it had princess seams all the way around and boning in a couple of the seams. Also, it has a zipper in the back. So today I'll show you my foolproof method for taking in a woven dress with a zipper, how to rip out your zipper and reinstall it. And I will use my foolproof method with using safety pins to try on my alterations before I sew them. So let's get to it. Now this one's going to be a bit more challenging, which is why I've saved it till last. This one is made out of a cotton sateen and it has boning in these middle seams here, but also in the back middle seams here. So the interesting thing about this dress is that it is what they call princess seamed. The princess seams go into these panels of the skirt, and that's happening all the way around the dress. So there's this wonderful opportunity to take in the dress and really make it fit whoever wears this dress by altering it. And it's built into the design of the dress. Now the problem is that boning. And on me, what we have happening is it's quite loose here, and it's quite like gaping in the back also. Gaping in the neck, gaping in the back. So we have to do a bit of diagnosing what the fit issues are. And me, because I've done a lot of fitting on my own body, I kind of know that I am quite narrow in the body. Usually patterns that are made are a little bit narrow for my body. I'm narrow in the shoulders and I'm narrow in the back. And I have a short torso, which the short torso won't matter for this. But because I'm narrow in the shoulders and it gapes in the neck, gapes in the back, right? So what I was thinking, originally I thought just take it in from the sides, but it's still gaping in the neck and it's still gaping in the back. So then I had put on my thinking cap and I was like, wait a second, what if I take it in the center front? So take it in, there's a seam right down my center front, so I would take it in and then taper back into that seam going into the skirt, right? From the waist downwards, it can be the way the dress originally is, right? But up here is where I will take out that fullness. So already you can see that is pulling it in so that it sits nice and close to my body instead of gaping around the neck. And then what I will do, and you know what, like that might be all I need to do is just take it in there. Because the other thing is, if I take it in from the center back, I will have to rip out the zipper and then reinstall it with bigger seam allowance, right? So what I might do is just try pinning first that center front seam and then try it on, see how it fits, and see if that has fixed it, because that might fix everything. So I don't mind that kind of wider scooped back. I think that looks alright. But if it's gaping in the back, I don't like that. So, but also I find it much harder to make alterations on the back of my body than on the front, and ripping out the zipper is not my favorite. That would be a lot more work. So we'll see if we can get it fixed with just this front center seam alteration. Inch at the waist and then that will taper into the skirt, right? From that inch, tapered into the skirt, 1.5 inches all the way up here, so that it will hug my body rather than splay outwards, gaping. So our first step is going to be to undo those little tacks, because then we can get to the front seam where we're going to try to see if we can just alter it from that point and see if that'll work. We might not have to take in the back seam, which would mean reinstalling the zipper right here. So turn it inside out, and here you can see what's going on. There is that boning that I was telling you about. You have boning at the side seam, you have boning at that princess seam all along the bust, and boning here. And by not touching any of these seams to do my alteration, I don't have to worry about seam ripping all that boning out and then having to reapply boning to those seams. Okay, so now we have that seam kind of lying flat. Remember, we want to come in 1 inch at the waist and 1.5 inches up at the neckline. And we're coming in from the actual seam, not the raw edge this time. And we come in 1.5 inches up here. Seems like a lot, because it's, you know, 1.5 inches. We're just taking in that front panel, so all our fabric is getting taken in from one seam. We're going to just see if this will work, and then we're going to taper in, and it's only one seam, so we can just kind of figure out. We come in from that waist point, kind of taper into that, the seam of the skirt. Just go down. I think we do. Let's try a straight line and just kind of go down like so. Now it might end up looking weird, but we're not sewing this seam. We are using our safety pins. So this is guess and test. We have an idea in our heads what might work to take in this dress, and we try it out, we test it out with safety pins first. Go. Trying it on, and I kind of took a look at everything ahead of time. Put my thinking cap on, and I think what I'm going to try, because it's just safety pins, try pins. I still think it's gaping a little bit around the zipper, and I thought that might happen. So I'm going to try taking it in 1 inch at the back. Sitting nice, but I just want to try 1/2 inch less taken in from here and just see how that looks. We're going to seam rip the zipper, but before we do that, we're going to try just coming in a little less up here. So our marks were on this side, so we will change it on this side. So instead of an inch and a half, we're going to come in an inch from that seam line. Mark in an inch from the seam line up here, and then down here is where our waist is. So instead of going, you know, remember we went in an inch at the waist? We're just going to want an inch in at the top too. I'm going to take out my safety pins so that I can draw my new line. So I'm just going to put them aside. Now I should be able to draw a line down. So instead of coming in an inch and a half up here and then tapering into that inch, we're just going to go down a straight inch and then taper in to the seam into the skirt. So we'll do our tapering. All our tapering will happen there. And I'm just curious and I want to see how it looks. Because that's like mirroring kind of how they had it before. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe it'll look better, or maybe we'll decide we liked it the first way we had it. But that's the thing about this, you know, method with the safety pins, is you can guess and test it out, and then you can try, you know, slight tweaks, and then try it on again, and then see what you like better. And here's something that when I was trying it on, I realized was quite important, is up here at the neckline, you really got to pay attention to how those seam lines are matching up. So when I go to do my actual pins, I'm definitely going to take some extra work to get that all lining up at the neckline so it doesn't look wonky. So the next thing we're going to do is seam rip open this zipper. So I want to come in an inch up here and then taper into their original seam line. So I feel like I should just go like midway down the back, like right here is kind of where I'll make a little mark on the line for now. And because I just want to bring it in like center back a little bit, just like to keep that gaping from happening. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm just going to seam rip down to that point. Off camera, I tore open. So this is what it looks like. There's my zipper. There's my shell. There's my lining. I am just going to move over this zipper by an inch. We're going to baste this zipper in place, and we're not going to sew everything like for reals until we know if we like what we've done. So I mean, but we do have to baste the zipper because otherwise it makes it very hard to try it on. And all we do is we take it in by an inch up there. We just kind of angle the zipper down there, and that'll be sewn on with a zipper foot. Same thing on the other side. And here is where we flip everything open. You notice I'm like, the direction that I'm facing the needles is so that I can sew from the top with my zipper foot and then pull out my needles as I go. Just so that you can see what I'm doing. Just pin the lining up out of the way. So that's it. Just put our needles in. that might be all we need for the zipper. So we're going to take that over to the machine, and we're going to use a zipper foot and sew down that zipper. So that's an invisible zipper foot. That's what we're going to put on our machine. I do like to make sure that I snip all these little threads around the zipper so that when I'm trying it on, I don't jam my zipper. Now let's sew the other side. So I tried on my dress. It looks perfect. The fit on it is absolutely amazing. I'm going to sew that front center seam. That's what I'm actually going to go do first. Pinned. That was my first attempt at taking it in. It was a little too snug. I tried a little less snug, and that was much better. So it pays to sometimes just spend a little extra time, you know, don't rush, and just really tweak that fit to get it exactly how you like it. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take out all my safety pins and put in real pins. And I'm going to do that off camera because that's a little boring. I think you know what the drill is with that. And then when I come back, we're going to sit and sew that front seam all the way down and then finalize that zipper in the back. And see this is my lining. I've kind of pinned it over top of my zipper, lining up where the seam line used to be on my lining. The reason I did that is I wanted to give the lining a little extra fullness because I saw some pulling in those seams, and I didn't want to kind of head that off at the pass. I don't want to rip my lining in my dress. The dress stretches, the lining does not. So face my pins this way so I can pull out as I sew. Tried to line up that front neckline, and I'm sewing from the top because that's where it should line up. That's where it's most noticeable if there's anything not lining up. So we'll start from there and work our way down. And we're going to get up as close to the edge of the zipper. The zipper teeth are on this side, so that when you turn it out, all the seams are inside that lining. Here's what it looks like. So there it is. We'll probably have to sew, yeah, just a little bit at the top edge. So we might as well do that right now. Actually, I'm going to take out my open-ended zipper and then return my needle position back where it was. And we'll start from back here where we started doing our seam ripping, and we're going to start there and then sew to close off that top edge of the dress again. Just be careful when you do this that you kind of feel through your lining and don't sew over the top hardware on the zipper. That'll break your needle. Good enough. So now you can see that's what we've sewn, and when we turn it back out, it should look good as new. This is the back of our dress, and there's the zipper. Good as new. So one of the last steps we'll do when we're all done is we'll just tack down that lining on the inside of the dress just tacking the lining to a few of the seams around the dress. We're sewing on this side of the zipper. Let's put on our regular foot, return our needle position back where it was, and just close up that top seam. Before we close up our lining and everything, we're going to go over to the serger here. Remember that front seam that we did? Well, all the seams are serged on this dress. So we're just going to do that. I think I'll start down here. That'll be the easiest. So start down here where the seams all line up. Start by serging over that. This is shaving off the excess fabric that we didn't use. It's going to be a little interesting when we get up here to the lining. So we're going to have to angle off. I do want to leave some extra fullness in that lining for the pulling issues, because the seams were pulling apart in the lining. So, my lining flat as I can. I went to my machine. I didn't think I needed to show you this part. I just ran some extra stitching because I saw that like the serging wasn't perfect. And a little hole was opening up in the lining, so I thought, well, I'm just getting the head off the pass. I guess I'll turn it inside out. I want to tack it down just in a couple places. I think this seam right here can be tacked here. Just want to make sure that you pull the lining down so that it doesn't, the lining doesn't peek out of the top of your dress.